Hi everybody, welcome back to Our Worship Sound. My name is Peter, and today I want to do a video in response to one of my subscribers named Jonathan Larea. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jonathan asked a question about tritones in worship, which is an interesting question because the tritone is an interval that's so dissonant that many centuries ago it was referred to as diabolus in musica, which literally means the devil in music. So when you asked about tritones in worship, that's an interesting question. But anyway, over the centuries, composers realized that it was actually God who created music. And I believe that we should have the freedom to use every interval to worship Him and to give Him glory. Amen? Amen. All right. So the actual topic and concept today is something called Tritone Substitution. I don't use it a lot in my playing, but I have a couple tricks that I can show you. First, to explain how it works, I want to go back to the concept I discussed in a previous video called secondary dominance. And what a secondary dominant does is it takes a chord other than the one chord and temporarily makes it sound like home. What a dominant is, it's the 5 chord within a key, and I'm actually going to go in the key of F major today. And the 5 chord in F major is C, and it's going to create that feeling of home when we get to the 1 chord. But we can also use other dominants to make other chords sound like home. For example, if I play an A chord, I can make the D minor, or the 6th chord within the key, sound like home. And the reason why that works is because we have half-step movement from the C sharp to the D and from the E to the F. It's that half-step movement that creates a lot of pull towards that new chord and makes us feel settled when we get to that new chord. Another example would be if I was going to make the 5 chord sound like home. I could play the G and then go to the C. And the reason why, what we're doing here, the way I figured out to use the G is you have to approach it from 4 notes below. So from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, that G is where we're going to start to make that new, to be the dominant for that new chord. Okay, now this doesn't have quite the same pull is what I just showed you a moment ago. So if I go F, it almost sounds like I'm C. Let me set that up again. Okay, we're in F major. If I play a G chord, it has pull to the C, but not quite as much, and the C doesn't quite sound quite as settled. What we can do to make it sound more like a dominant is add the 7th, the minor 7th, so a G7 chord. And what that does is not only now do we have a half step from the B to the C, but now we have a half step moving down from the F to the E of the C chord. So from G7, I've got a half step movement here and here. And now that sounds more conclusive when we get to the C. Okay? Now, where I typically use tritone substitution in my playing is if I'm going to go from the 1 chord to the 4th chord. I've had to really think about how I'm going to explain this, but anyway, if I'm going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, I would normally just, if I was just using a secondary dominant, I would just take this F chord, add a 7th, and go to the 4 chord, because the 1 chord it's got that movement by 4ths anyway. Okay, so what I can do is instead of playing the F7, I can choose a chord that's a tritone away. A tritone is an interval that's 6 semitones or half steps. Other names for it are the augmented 4th, diminished 5th, half an octave, either way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So tritone away from the F, either way, is the B. So instead of playing an F7 chord, I can play a B7 chord. And what this does is it creates half-step movement with every note in this chord. If I'm going to go from here to B flat, I've got half-step movement to the B flat, half-step movement to the D, half-step movement to the F, and half-step movement up to the B flat. Okay, so if I just played a straight tritone substitution like that, just putting the B in for the F7, sound like this. Okay, now that works. It sounds a little bit too clean and tidy for me, and so what I do is I do something different that gives me a sound that I like better, but it also makes it a lot easier to understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep this F7 and just change the bass note, because when we do the tritone substitution, we go from F to B, then to B flat. So when we do this tritone substitution, we're just approaching the chord that we're going to from a half step above. Okay, so I'm going to do the F7 and then just change the bass to half step above where I'm going. So okay, so that works really well if you're going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord and you want to sort of jazz it up, so to speak. That works really well. Another thing that you can do, well, let me give you an example of that first. I use this in a song called Draw Me In, or Draw Near. It's called Draw Near, yes. Okay. So anyway, come and draw near to me as I draw near to you. Let me experience your healing power. Create my heart anew. Right here. Come and draw near to me. Okay, so from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, you can throw that substitution in there. Another way this works is if you're on the 6th chord and you need to go to the 2 chord. Okay, so if we're in F, 6th chord is 2, or 6th chord is D, the 2 chord is G, and this works because we're approaching it from 4 notes below, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the same thing applies. If you're on a D minor, let's do a D minor 7, approach the G minor from a half step above. Keep the right hand chord, change the bass note to half step above, and then you're good to go to that G minor chord, or the 2 chord. Okay? And I use this in a song called Faithful Stronger. You are stronger than my failure. You are. Okay? So an easy way to do it, you just keep the right hand, add the minor 7th to it, approach the bass note from a half step above, and you've got an easy, basic, simple way to do a tritone substitution in worship. You know, I think we'd really make the guys in the 1500s really proud to know that we're doing YouTube videos now about tritones in worship. I don't think anybody ever saw it coming back then. But anyway, all silliness aside, thanks for watching. I hope you'll join me and send me comments, questions, everything to ourworshipsound.com, the website, or through the YouTube channel, or through Facebook or Twitter. And we'll hope to have some more videos on some different topics coming on soon. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.